Ladies, gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary, welcome to the Monday Discourse for today, March 8th, 2021. I'm your host, Tristan. Usually, we're going to have Mia Mulder on the show. She is unfortunately feeling sick, so she will not be in today, so you're stuck with just me. Got a handful of questions reserved usually for Tuesdays, and I don't know, maybe if we run out, we'll, do a mini reactor or something. Who knows? Figure it out. Anyways, I am your host, Tristan. I usually stream on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. Mondays from 12 till 2, Tuesdays from 7 to 9, and Fridays from 12 till 2 as well. On Mondays, I do the Reactor, which is what you're watching right now. Or, sorry, on Mondays, I do the Monday Discourse, which is with, typically with Mia Mulder. Again, she is ill, so she won't be in today. Tuesdays, that's just me, and we do Step Back Tonight. I'm going to try to find a way to shake that show up a bit, because I feel like it needs some more juice. Maybe get some more guests. People seem to like the guests last time. And, thank you, by the way, the Appalachian Left, for the Tier 1 subscription. You've been around for 5 months. Good shit, man. Congratulations. Or thank you, I guess is the right word to say. On Fridays, I do the Reactor, where people send me content on the Discord, and I react to it. I go by he, him pronouns. You can find my work at stepbackhistory.com or tristanwon'tshutup.com. And if you want to support my work, you can go to patreon.com/stepbackhistory and subscribe for as little as, I guess now it's as little as 84 cents a month if you get if you do an annual membership, and you get access to early videos. And now I can announce that people who are pledged for $5 tier and up will get to help me decide between a few topics on my future videos. So if that's a thing you're interested in, that's a place where you can pledge. The other places you can go, if you have Amazon Prime, you can use your free Twitch Prime subscription you get every month to help Step Back. This costs no extra money to you, and if you don't use it, Amazon gets to keep your money. So if you help Step Back, I'll be very grateful. Of course, I'm always going to say that you should always be using it. If you don't use it on Step Back, that's fine. You could use it on another channel. But if you have Amazon Prime, there are a lot of independent Twitch creators who are trying to make a scratch off of this and trying to, pay their bills off of their work, because this is work. So please help somebody out. As for content that is out, if you are a patron, you already have seen my latest video. It was on COINTELPRO. It's been out for, I think I released it on Thursday night. I'm waiting on the sponsor to get the green light to release the main video, but people seem to like it. Seem to have some, people seem to be excited about it, so we'll see what happens when it, touches the public, if you will. And now the next thing I'm working on a couple things. One is a secret project that hopefully you'll be hearing about in the next couple months. The other thing is a not so secret project, which is a new Tristan Won't Shut Up video that I'm partway through editing. So, that's my life. Yeah. If you want to submit questions for future streams, I'm going to put a link in the chat to a Google form where you can go to whenever you want to submit questions for my stream. It's always there. So that's a thing if you want to help build this stream. We currently have a lot of questions for Mia and not a lot of questions for the Tuesday night show. So if you want a high chance of getting a question through, that's probably a way to do it. Anything else? If this is your first time here as well, please make yourself known. Say hello, because this is how do I say it? This channel just passed 87,000 subscribers over the weekend, and so I would be what's it called? If this is your first time here, a lot of new people are finding the channel. Woo! Make yourself known, because we've got quite an active community, and I'm sure people would love to join in. or would love to have you there. So please do so. Wow, I feel like I'm a rambling mess. I know the stream started a little late today. I think I'm just like a little bit discombobulated from just the quick transition from having lunch. I stayed a little late because we were watching a TV show and I wanted to catch like the last like 2 minutes of the episode before I came up and did stuff. Yeah. But besides that, I think I got everything covered. So, there we go. Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing out in internet land? Let's see what we got going on in the chat. Got some hellos, good mornings. Maybe suggest you make history videos about trains. I see. Doing well. Glad to hear I'm not too late. Discombobulated is such an interesting word. It is. It's a fun word to say, especially because it's a difficult word to say to represent a sort of mental state where it's hard to put words together. So, yeah. And I have coffee. That was another thing that got me late, is I was very preoccupied with making sure that I could get my coffee ready, because it's necessary. It's me self-medicating for ADHD because they won't let me have the pills. Oh. So, making lunch, I missed something. You haven't missed anything so far. Just, things are slow to get started. What the hell's going on in the world right now? I know that there was like an Oprah royal family thing. I don't care super much, except for maybe... I'm hoping... I feel like, what's it called? I feel like, that abolish the monarchy was trending was good news, so there's that. This is why I'm like, I don't understand how I've been streaming for 2 years, and this is the level of discourse that I still do. I'm still like this, like, what's it called? I feel like other streamers know how to be more entertaining than I am, and I'm still like, well, let's take a look at the news here, friends. Oh, it seems that the royal family is in hot water over this one. Seems that there's some sort of a racism problem here going on in the royal family. Can the House of Windsor survive? And it's like, I don't know. Derek Chauvin trial, Unicorn Riot is covering it. Oh, that's the Chauvin. That's the guy who murdered George Floyd, right? Some unions are pulling their funding from the Broadband Institute because their leader is spreading lies about Jeremy Corbyn. Oh, that's fun. I do like when unions do things. If the House of Windsor falls, can they drag the House of Orange Nassau with them? Is that the royal family of the Netherlands or something? Do the radio voice more often. Transatlantic accent. I need to find a way to do like audio effects on the thing so I could just go into old school radio voice, go into transatlantic mode more often. You know, EQ up the mids and stuff. That is a story that I'm pretty angry about, which is I know, Matt, you're not going to like this story at all. That I have that I'm going to be pulling my support for the NDP. I'm probably not going to vote for them anymore. And I'm not going to give them any more money until they apologize to Nikki Ashton. So that's a situation I am in. No, Mia, no, she is ill. She's not feeling good. What's going on with the NDP? Nikki Ashton, who probably should be leader of the party. She's probably like the most left-wing like member MP in of the NDP. She did an event with Jeremy Corbyn, and the NDP, on orders from a right-wing pro-Israeli, like kind of like the Canadian version of AIPAC, basically under their orders, denounced her as like, oh, we don't want to do anything about this anti-Semitism business and like, anti-Jeremy Corbyn shit. And it's just like the peak of like, controlled opposition leader, controlled opposition leader freaking Jagmeet Singh, doing basically like trying to pull the whole Jeremy Corbyn anti-Semite bullshit, and throwing the best MP they've got under the bus. And yeah, so that fucking sucks. And until they apologize to Nikki Ashton for doing very good international outreach and trying to build an actual left-wing movement. I mean, there's two ways you can look at it. It's either apologize, or you cannot really argue that the NDP is an actual left-wing party anymore. They're just another liberal party. In which case, fuck them. What's it called? There's a schism going on in the Canadian left right now about basically over the Jeremy Corbyn bullshit. And I am not going to give any fucking money to the NDP until they rescind that shit. Singh called Ashton an anti-Semite for doing an event with Corbyn. I mean, not so directly, but basically denounced Nikki Ashton for doing an event with Jeremy Corbyn for reasons of anti-Semitism. And it's like, okay, fuck this shit. As a historian, what are your views on the differences between German 1933 crisis laws and current COVID laws? I don't even know what the German 1933 crisis laws were. I'm not really a German historian. With his widow's peak, if Tristan worked out, he would become bred to Vegeta. Hey, my hair is getting long enough that I could probably do it. Goddamn. Jagmeet was my last choice when I was voting in the NDP leadership race, and he has bravely led the party to historic defeats, and now the NDP is like barely relevant anymore. So, yeah. Oh, Phoebe's coming out of her house. Phoebe lives almost her entire life in a fluffy, soft house. And sometimes she comes out. What do you think of Charlie Angus? I don't really know a whole lot about Charlie Angus. Like, when he was running for leadership, like, I've been told he's pretty good. It's just that, like, I don't know. He was like an old dude, an old white man. And I was like, we could do better than that. Especially because Nikki Ashton was running, who's a way better candidate. I mean, I'm kind of still ticked that she, like, broke COVID laws to go to Greece, but it's at least for, like, empathetic reasons. She didn't, like, break COVID rules to go to Chili's or something, but still. The NDP is polling well. I don't know, like, the NDP has this issue that they're basically afraid of their best ideas and all the things that make them popular, and they think that the only way for them to get elected is to act like the liberals. And every time they do that, it ends up with them biting it. Aren't the NDP like communist light? I'm gonna go with a hard no on that one there, bud. The NDP are like maybe a social democratic party, but at this point under Jagmeet Singh, they've moved so far to the right that I would just consider them another like center-right liberal party that just aren't like suicidally devoted to capitalism like the liberals are. Like the liberals were ready to just let everybody starve when COVID happened, and the NDP were the ones who were like, "Hey, maybe we should give means-tested checks to some people that they have to pay back." And so, like, yeah. They keep hiring people who run Hillary and Obama's campaigns. This is true. I remember this. It's why they are also, like, relentlessly dedicated to this, like, this sort of brand of election thing that's so out of touch with the Canadian left. It's like, Jesus. And what sucks is that every time you like volunteer for the NDP and you talk to the other volunteers, all the volunteers are like openly socialists that are like begrudgingly doing the work of the NDP because they're the only option that exists. It fucking sucks. Alberta NDP supported Antifa and then immediately deleted it. Remember when the Alberta NDP supported fucking fossil fuel industry for years and refused to back the LEAP manifesto, which was like a movement for the NDP to support radical climate change stuff? Because, you know, Alberta, oil. Can you all make a new party in Canada? You could try, but it's very hard to... I don't know if anyone's picked this up yet, but if you don't have proportional representation, it's very hard to maintain a, like, to grow a party. It takes a lot of work. Thought Mulcair was a super centrist dude. That's the thing, is Thomas Mulcair, the previous leader... He was a bit more left-wing than Jagmeet Singh is. But, like, the thing about him is that he was really, like... See, like, he came from Montreal politics. And Tom Mulcair was, like, this, you know, firebrand, like, this wonderful asshole in Montreal politics. And then, so she did all that, or he did all that, and then he becomes leader of the federal party, and he just ends up being like this, like smiley, friendly, like product of the NDP, and it's like awful. I'm starting to think this is going to be almost like what's it called? This is going to be almost heresy, but I feel like one of the worst things that happened to the NDP was Jack Layton, who was the previous leader, who was leader for like a decade, and basically pushed the NDP so far to the right that they're like afraid of all of their best ideas. They're a terrible political party. Didn't Mulcair back that Victims of Communism memorial in Ottawa? Probably. The NDP tries to do anything it can to throw socialists under the bus and make a big deal about how not socialist they are. But Tom Mulcair, as soon as he got booted out of power, tried to be like, we should bring socialism back to the NDP. And it's like, oh, fuck this. He's like, yeah, you say that the second you're not in power. Oh, man. Makes me sad. Do we have any good questions? What's your favorite thing to do to unplug from politics and the like? Ooh, that's a good question. Unplugging. I mean, I have a serious problem in the fact that I probably don't unplug as much as I should. I'm starting to get into this idea where everyone's gonna hate this so much. I'm sort of in this like mentality right now where I'm so bored in the evenings that I kind of want to see about maybe doing more work in my workday, like working after dinner a bit, just because like I spend so much time now kind of like at the end of the day where I'm just like, you know, watching YouTube waiting for bedtime. I'm thinking like, oh man, maybe I should just, you know, spend my evening doing some extra work. Which I know, it sounds like absolutely terrible, but it's just like a thing that I would kind of want to do. Anti-religion this early on a Monday stream. Yeah, 255 wants me to basically turn back into a 2009 era edgy atheist so bad. He seems to be very, very upset that I don't hate religious people and religion with all of my heart, and is always like trying to configure new ways, be like, well, if religion worked this way, then would you finally hate it for me? And it's like, no, I'm good, thanks. So we have to return to it every week with new hypotheticals about why religions are bad. Just make sure you're avoiding aimlessness. Well, thanks. Yeah, I'm sort of like in this like, it's just that like in COVID times, like on a normal, like when I'm like in what's it called? When we're not in a global pandemic, I like doing stuff with my evenings. Like I'm very extroverted. So like I like for example, my D&D night, you know, on Wednesday night, I used like today, you know, the session starts at 7:00. So I have to go and sit in front of my computer at 7:00 until like 10:00 when we wrap up. And then I usually go to bed about an hour later. And, hello. And so now I'm just like, okay, it's just a thing where I sit at my computer. When it was Wednesday, when it was like before COVID, I would like, you know, clean up the house and, you know, get like, you know, have the people would come over. They would start trickling in after work. So like, you know, 6:00, people start showing up and we hang out and we eat food and we listen, like, you know, we chill and we would have a great time. And then we'd start playing D&D at around 7. Like 7 was not the time that we came together. It would be the time that we like just started playing. And I just am like so tired. I was like, I wish that like, I loved that evening. It's like the whole evening as time with your friends. And things like on Friday nights, I used to go out to bars and all that stuff. And like now with like COVID, all I have are these nights where I'm here by myself and like, you know, Kelly's watching TV downstairs. So I'm just like, I guess I'll play, like I've gotten bored of all of my video games. I've gotten, I've gotten tired of all the TV shows. So in many ways, I'm like finding myself doing weird things like just sitting in my office listening to podcasts and staring into space. And it's just like, I'm so like, there's just nothing to do. And so, you move to a new city, so you wouldn't be able to do that with those people anyway. That's true. But if I did not have pandemic, stuff on me, I would be doing stuff like, I would, like, what's it called? This is a city I used to live in. I lived in London until 2017. I have friends here. I have, like, 3 friends that live like within like a 2 or 3 block radius of my house. So like I would still be seeing people and I'd be going out, and I still have like a good amount of like connections in this town, and it's just like I can't do anything with it. I have a lot of friends who live in this city still, and I can't see them, and I can't go out, and I can't get drinks, and I can't play an in-person D&D game, and just so like all together, it's just like I just find myself very bored. Very, very, very bored. And so I'm considering just filling my evening with more work, because at least that's a thing that is engaging to do instead of like, you know, reading books for hours and hours and stuff. This is getting very sad. I should probably stop. For a question about like what's your favorite thing to do to unplug from politics, I'm starting to get very like doomery, so maybe I should move on. I'm also getting sad now because like talking to Americans, like Americans are starting to get vaccinated in a pretty like a bunch of my American friends are now vaccinated, and we are hearing that like I'm not going to get vaccinated until like maybe July at the earliest. And so it's like it's going to be like summer, fall, winter by the time I actually get to you know, get my vaccine. And I'm just like, oh man, I'm not going to be able to like they're going to all be having fun and doing stuff, and we're just going to be sitting at home because Canada wasn't able to get its shit together to get vaccines. And it's gonna suck. We got another question here though. Hey, I've been a long time watcher of your videos. This is from Mostly Scottish History. I've been a long time watcher of your videos and have recently started trying to make videos of my own. Do you have any advice on research, presentation style, or any other aspect of making history videos on YouTube? Yeah, I will. I would say that, first of all, if you are a university student, use or if you live even close to your university, use the shit out of that library if you can. If not, get yourself a goddamn library card, because I have like done so much research for videos, not obviously in the last year, but a lot of my research for videos started with reading books in the library. Like, I would actually go to Toronto Reference Library and sit in that like 1970s weird ass library with all of the U of T students and just sit and read books for like entire afternoons. And that is sort of like the place where I got my research. You don't have to have like, a lot of people for some reason buy books when they're doing research, and it's like, fuck, like everyone's just forgotten that libraries exist. So please make use of the library if you can in some capacity. Hey, it's Scott. Hey, it's Scott from NerdSync in the chat. Good fun stuff. It's my buddy. The other thing is, so that's like for research, that's that. One of the things that I've done that I've gotten a lot of things is like still getting, like for me, I've been getting a lot of mileage off of like finding a main book to build your story around, because like a lot of topics have a lot of books, and honestly, like when I'm doing a historical topic, I try to find like the best, most recent book on the subject and sort of use that as the springing off point. You know, you fact check things and you make sure that the author is good and stuff, but for the most part, like that is going to be like a main source that you can build around. Like for example, the COINTELPRO video is built around a chapter of a book I'm reading called oh gosh, what's the name of that book? Let me just gotta hear some of my Goodreads. Goodreads is there's something happening here by David Cunningham. And for example, I think that people have picked up that like my series on the white power movement is on Kathleen Belew's Bring the War Home. So like those are things that I feel like are that's a good way to get started, because in many ways, like one of the biggest issues about doing research for a video is that you can do a lot more research than you need to do on a video, and you can get lost. And there's so many people, including academics, who have problems deciding when research is done and you need to start writing something. And usually it's deadlines, but when you're a YouTuber, you don't really have deadlines. So I always try to think of something like that to do. As far as like presentation style and things, the main one is that most people don't like university lectures. Like we've seen some videos on this channel that are just like, they're not about a subject. They're not about, they don't have a narrative focus to them. They're just like a lecture on a topic. And I've done those in the past, and I feel like they're not very successful videos. And so the thing about presentation style when you're a educational YouTuber is you need to think like a journalist, which is that journalists don't just do articles on topics. They have a topic they want to talk about, but they have to find the story. And the story is the thing you have to find. And if you can find a story that taps into a bigger topic that you want to talk about, that's the golden thing. That's the two things that you need to find, and that's when you know you've got a good thing. That's when you know you've got the what is going to become a video. Because I've got tons of videos that are like topics that don't really have a story attached to them, or stories that don't really have I can't think of like a bigger topic to talk about. And I know that I'm not going to make these because I've done both, and they have both fallen flat, because you need to find something to kind of really mesh these two together. You recommended some great books about storytelling earlier this year at the end of last year, if memory serves. There is The Anatomy of Story. That's a decent one, although it's kind of controversial because it's a little bit more prescriptive than a lot of people are happy with. But honestly, like there's a Pixar free course on storytelling that I think is like probably the best one. You just want to have something that you want to have your story built around, because people like stories. People don't like university lectures. Why is the Great Courses Plus so financially successful? Mostly because the Great Courses Plus has an upfront cost. So what that means is that it self-selects people. The Great Courses Plus works because there are people who like that kind of content, and they pay money up front for it, which means that you don't have to get as big an audience to be successful. And even then, even academics are given instructions that you should probably try to find some sort of story to build your stuff around, though it's not as important. So stuff like those, like course websites, are typically done, are a self-selected group of people who pay for the privilege of the access to the video, which means that you can focus more on niche audience. While, like, you know, on YouTube, to make the same money as something from Great Courses Plus, I would need to get probably like hundreds, thousands of times more views. So, and history is a topic that a lot of people don't think that they like until they learn, until they see something that makes it relevant to them. And so that's a thing I try to keep abreast of. So what else do we got here? I think those are the main things. The last part here is any other aspect of making history videos on YouTube. I would also say that YouTube is a format where having the most tight and snappy editing is not as important as people think it is. I mean, it can be if that's your aesthetic. Like, for example, we've got Scott here, and NerdSync videos are very highly polished, and they're very good looking. and that's part of the brand. But know that it's that it's not necessary, and a lot of times the need to have something that's very highly polished stops people from making content. And in many ways, the best way to get on board for making content is not to be a perfectionist, and to start by just making a minimum viable product and getting it out there, and realizing that you're going to learn every video and sort of like you're going to be building it every time, right? Like you're going, like, I always think about this whenever somebody talks about like, oh, how do I start a channel? It's going to be so hard to make videos. Go and watch any YouTube channel's first video, and you'll notice that people very rarely anyways, start being like highly polished, very good editing, very good editors. And that in many ways you learn how to be good at, you learn how to improve at editing as you do it more often. And that you can get away with a lot more than you think on YouTube. And if you really want to get like drill down and be really good at editing, there is free ways to learn how to do it. Like if you have a local library, you can. A lot of them have access to Lynda, which is sort of like LinkedIn's version of like Skillshare, and you can get a whole lot of free courses to learn how to make stuff. So there's a lot of useful, like, in many ways, a lot of like learning how to be a good YouTuber is just starting and learning what works and what doesn't, and sort of picking that up from there, because a lot of YouTube is starting, throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, and then when something sticks, building upon that until you have established whatever it is that you are. Every YouTuber I know starts with like possibly years of making content that doesn't go anywhere, and then making one video that does really well, and sort of building on that success, turning them into their channel. That's not Step Back story. Step Back grows very weird compared to other YouTube channels. I don't know why, but other people, that's sort of like their thing. Step Back has been weird in the sense that it has never had like a huge breakout success. It's always been like linear, while a lot of times people's growth is logarithmic. Yeah. Hopefully that got all of that through. I know that was a lot to chew on, but there's like a lot of times people get hung up on becoming a YouTuber when, like, honestly, you have to get started. The easiest way to get started is to start, and your first video is going to suck, and you just have to kind of be okay with that, and then learn how to improve on your next video. Am I still gonna vote NDP? Maybe. At this point, I don't know. I don't know. The next election's probably not going to be for a couple years yet. So, at this point, I'm very grumpy with them. But we'll see how things go in time. Would you vote for the Communist Party? Maybe. They tend, like, what's it called? I don't think I've ever voted in an election where they were even on the ballot, so it would depend upon if the Communist Party is even on my ballot, but they are also a little bit Marxist-Leninist and stuff, which can be a bit of a problem, but we'll see. The next election is this summer. Are we going to get an election this summer? I don't know. Voting on confidence seems... Until the conservatives think that they can win the election, they're not going to push for a vote of non-confidence at this point. And since kind of everybody hates the conservatives right now for being really shitty during this pandemic, every conservative province has fucked up the pandemic response. For example, As I mentioned earlier, I'm not going to be getting my vaccine until the summertime at the earliest, but it's most likely going to be the fall. So, yeah. So I don't know. The liberals are going to call an election. Maybe they. I guess they are. They are seeing their support increase. So it might be like them trying to secure a majority government. That wouldn't surprise me, actually. But given that my writing currently contains somebody who was part of the anti-BDS vote, I'm probably not going to vote for the liberals. That's for sure. And like voting communist feels like I'm throwing my vote away. So I don't know. This is the thing. This is how the NDP keeps. What's it called? This is how the NDP keeps shit together. Is that they just. Isn't it the liberals in charge, not conservatives? In Ottawa, at the federal level, yes. But Ontario, my province, is run by conservatives. And all of the conservative-run provinces are all doing terrible. And the liberal ones, or the non-conservative ones, are doing a little bit better. Only 20% of the NDP support the BDS movement. Yeah, I know. What's it called? You think that you think that the United States is bad when it comes to weird obsessive support of the apartheid state known as Israel? You would be, Canada's got Canada makes it much more of like an identity for some reason. What is the BDS movement? It's BDS stands for Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions. And it is a way to pressure the Israeli government to stop having an apartheid state where it has active occupation over its indigenous people that it's trying to essentially erase from existence. And BDS are the three different ways to do it. So boycotting, so not buying Israeli goods. Divestment, not investing in Israeli companies. And sanctions, which is putting economic blocks on Israel's exports in order to basically diplomatically isolate Israel to force them to stop conquering their people, or stop the illegal occupation of their people, of its indigenous people. And it's essentially the reason why BDS, the BDS is essentially all of the things that. First of all, it's okay, let's go through. 1, BDS is what the indigenous people of Palestine have been saying they want in response to what the international community can do to help them in their struggle. 2, BDS tactics were the historical tactics that were used to force apartheid South Africa to give up apartheid. Or at least it was part of what the international community was able to muster in order to diplomatically isolate South Africa and force them to get rid of apartheid. And so it's a way to push for international pressure on Israel to stop doing what it's doing. Which is, yeah. Don't sanctions hurt regular people more than governments? Yes, this is true. I don't know if we're going to go with Madeleine Albright type sanctions like the starving of the Iraqi people. But Israel is not a poor country. Israel is a very modern and rich country. And the people that are being mistreated, i.e. the indigenous people of Palestine, are already... they already have no access to even basic resources. So it's not like they're going to be affected super, super harsh because they're already being affected so harshly. So really what this would be is a squeeze on, the Israeli economy to have them push for the Likud to change its, or to push for either the Likud or for the Knesset to change its government so that they move to a, pluralistic secular state that doesn't have an explicit second class and also isn't illegally occupying indigenous people and building colonies on top of their territory. So, like, you know, all that stuff. What kind of music do I like? Now, that's an interesting question. These days, I've been listening to a lot of Rise Against, I'll be honest. But like I'm kind of like old enough now that my music tastes are like this mishmash of different tastes that I've had over the years. So there's like pop music, because I was really into pop music when I was like in my early 20s. I was really into metal music when I was a teenager, so I got a lot of metal music. And then I've got like musical theater, because I had a musical theater phase in my life, and those kind of things. What video games have I been playing lately? I've been playing Valheim. That's probably the video game I've been playing. The two games I've been playing are Valheim for when I'm like listening to podcasts and stuff, and I've been playing The Witcher 3 as like my game with a story that I'm playing through. Valheim's a pretty fun, relaxing game to play. I like that it always, like, it's a pretty fun game. I'm enjoying my time playing it. It's exactly the kind of game that I wanted to play when I was like, when I'm like listening to stuff. Like, it's very chill. It's not a very fast-paced game. It's not a very hard game. It's just sort of like a game where you're slowly building on what you're doing, and I enjoy it. It's a game I am definitely. Someone just mentioned Factorio, and Factorio is most definitely a game that I need to buy at some point, because I feel like it will take over my life the second I buy it. You play Witcher for the story. Yeah, that's true. Witcher 3 has terrible combat, and I'm playing it on the easiest difficulty because I want the story. And I am enjoying the story of The Witcher. What are your thoughts on Vosh? Pass. I've made it very clear that I'm not a fan. But every time I talk about why I'm not a fan, I get people who get mad at me in my comments. And I've had now, what's it called? I've had like people, like freelancing clients, who have like given me shit because I said bad stuff about Vosh. So I'm done. I have been officially, what's it called, intimidated and bullied into not speaking out against that person. I got canceled. Yeah, kinda. I was just like, I have a, what's it called? I have a client that pays me to do work for them that really likes Vosh and doesn't like when I say bad things about him. And so I've been pulled aside by him and he's been like, you know, don't say bad things about this person, please. And then with the, you know, because of, you know, he pays me money for work, with the implicit threat that I might lose money if I keep saying bad things about him. You got a book on the Green New Deal and Bernie's biography from Verso last week. Well, that's good. That sounds good. Kind of a double question. Do you think games can be used as a tool to move people left? And if so, do you have any favorite examples of how this idea has been applied well? Could games be used? I feel like, as a big fan of tabletop role-playing games, like, I think that game can help teach a lot of people like a kind of radical empathy. And I'm trying to think of like good examples of it being applied well. I've been told that Disco Elysium is really good at that kind of stuff. Someone just mentioned, have you played Disco Elysium? I haven't. It's on my list to play, but I have a lot of games I'm trying to get caught up on. Have you ever played Shadowrun? No. I've heard it's very crunchy, and my taste in role-playing games is moving towards the less rules, more story focus, like Powered by the Apocalypse type games, rather than more crunchy, rules-heavy games like I'm part of a group of D&D players who have been really interested in moving on to Pathfinder, because they're all people who play D&D like it's a board game or a video game, and it's like not really my jam, and so they're probably going to move on to Pathfinder after this campaign's over, and I'll probably drop out. Why do tankies always call anarchists liberals? It seems like a conservative talking point. It's because anarchists there's like an idea that liberals focus too much on things like personal liberties and freedom, which don't have material benefits for people. And so they think that anarchists, because anarchists believe in things like freedom and autonomy and a belief in like, personal liberties and stuff like that on top of, material conditions, that because we're not entirely focused on material conditions, that it makes us liberals. That's essentially the argument. And then, some people like Noam Chomsky being an anarchist and saying that anarchism is the continuation of the liberal tradition doesn't help. It's not like my favorite, what's it called? It's not my favorite Noam Chomsky take, but, it is what it is. I'm a free market capitalist. What do I think about that? I'm sorry that you don't understand human nature and economics. I'm very sorry about that. Sophie did a whole video on it. Yeah, the Curio video on the Witcher series was really good. And one of the things about the Witcher games that I have to say is that the games feel like, after I've started reading the books and watching the show, like the games missed a lot of what makes them good. Like, the thing is, like, there's like a big ludonarrative dissonance with The Witcher 3, because The Witcher 3 is a game where you're driven constantly by like the combat, because, it's a video game, and for some reason we've decided that all video games are about combat first and everything else second. And the thing is, you read the Witcher books, and you even listen to some of the ways that people talk in the game. There's this whole thing that, like, monsters are endangered. Like, monsters are going extinct. They're disappearing from the world. Phoebe, stop playing with that piece of paper. So monsters are going extinct. And that, like, the idea is that, like, of Geralt is that, like, as monsters start to, start fading into history, Geralt himself is becoming less and less relevant, and sort of he's like a man from a past age trying to, like, face the new world as everything's fading away. But then you play The Witcher 3, and, like, just monsters just, like, will pop up out of the swamp and attack you randomly in, like, random encounters and stuff. And if I was in charge of, like, if I was the systems designer for The Witcher 3, I would have had more combats, I would have had the loop of the game more like the first storyline of The Witcher with the Griffin. Because combat should really be sort of like built up to, and then each fight should be hard. Like, the Witcher contracts in the game should be more like what every Witcher combat should be like. Like, the regular combat, aside from, like, bandits and wolves and stuff, like, having random monsters show up is kind of weird, and I don't know if that should work. If you're going to fight a monster, I feel like it should have been built up, and there should be, like, a lot of, like, preparation, and then the fight itself should be hard. That should be more about, like, what monster fights are like. And instead, they decided to just drop, like, random monsters everywhere and waves of monsters, and it's like, this makes the game feel a lot less like the sort of, if you're trying to adapt the feeling of what the Witcher's world is supposed to be like, you're kind of missing out there. Plus, also, it seems like the games actively try to move away from the sort of Witcher being this, the Witcher series being this sort of cynical this like, what would a world where fairy tales are real actually be like? And so, like, a lot of stuff in The Witcher has to do with fairy tales, and kind of like a cynical take on fairy tales, and they don't do that very much in the games. It just kind of turns into a more like generic action game. It's still good. The stories are still interesting. They have good characters and interesting stuff happens. It's just that, like, it doesn't feel... It feels like it's very separate from, like, the books and the show and stuff. World of Darkness. I've never played World of Darkness. Thing is that in tabletop world right now, everybody just wants to play D&D. So it's sort of like what you're stuck with. Would a left-wing U.S. government have any obligation to honor long-standing deals to give military support to groups like the Kurds or whatever? That's what Robert Evans take the other day. I don't know. Screwing over the Kurds is, though, a long-standing tradition in American foreign policy history, so... Huge Destiny, Vosh, David Pacman fan. Well, oh, jeez. Someone trying to call me during a stream. It's probably a spam call. I mean... I don't know what to say. David Pacman is sort of... I don't know. I don't want to... shit talking is not going to get me anywhere. Destiny has a lot... I mean, I was done with Destiny a long time ago, but I don't understand how anyone stuck with him past the, like, freaking far-right asshole who murdered two protesters. You know, supporting the murdering of Black Lives Matter protesters. I don't know how anybody stuck with him past that point. Anyways. Here, tried playing playing the Fantasy Flight Star Wars system. I actually have played it. I have a friend who was really into it a few years ago, and so I've played it at least once. Why do people keep asking for your opinion on Vosh on every stream? I don't know. I don't know why everyone's so pro... Mostly because I think he's such a polarizing figure in online discourse. And also, Vosh fans love to harass people who don't like Vosh, so... His fans are obnoxious, I gotta say that. What's the point in supporting an ideology that requires genocide? I don't think there is a point. These monsters are so rare. 6 Griffin fights later. Yeah, for real. Let's see. I'm just reading through the chat, by the way. Sorry if this is not the most engaging content right now. What do you think about progressive leftists lacking empathy for animals in the livestock and milk industry because they'd rather... because they would have their diet changed to make conservation effective. Okay, so this is like a very strongly worded vegan argument. What I would say to you, Meowie Cat, is more the like. While like I don't deny anybody, you know. I don't have any issue with anybody being vegan. I think it's a perfectly and a very like, you know, like ethical way to live and everything. But like also, just like the idea that you're going to save the world by turning off the faucet while you're brushing your teeth. Like, okay, yeah, it's, you know, You're not going to make like personal choices in what you purchase are a drop in the bucket compared to the larger industries and the economics on board for changing these things. And if you wanted to end, like, the animal farming industry, you'd have to find ways to fix that in a larger, more systemic way than just like shaming random people for engaging in things that are very culturally ingrained in our society. And I feel like there's something very liberal about making it like, oh no, of course, ending animal farming is just personal responsibility, and not that, like, the government props it up and supporting things that might have a way to change that. Like, I think that at this point, the only way to really get through the sustainability argument of these things is to move into biocultured animal products, which I think is the only way that we're really going to get people to stop animal farming. Like, in all honesty, because making it a personal choice thing is going to be I don't know, it's just not gonna work. I actually thought The Witcher 3 was good in regards to the books, given how Geralt and Ciri's relationships unraveled, as well as the various issues of race and there being no easy solutions. Also, if you play in Death March, you definitely need to prepare, though less so in The Witcher 2. Also, the White Frost was coming, so definitely monsters would be more numerous. All right. It's also inspired by Polish mythology. Yes, that's true, and I do like that. I do like the use of like kikimoras and like baba yagas and the sort of like relationship with like the ancient things like the crones and stuff. Like, yeah, I was like, oh, this is all very cool Eastern European stuff. Alrighty. In like 2009, they tried to make a D&D MMORPG. Does that defeat the point of the game? It's still like, what's it called? DDO is still a thing. I mean, I think you are speaking to a thing that my opinion on the Dungeons and Dragons people is that the company that runs it doesn't know why people like it very much. Because they're under the impression that the reason why people like Dungeons and Dragons is because they're really enamored by the like adventures and the storylines and the worlds that they've made. Like, they think that the people who like Dungeons and Dragons like it because they're just like really big fans of the Forgotten Realms. When like I don't think that's very true, especially when you look at like the super high percentage of D&D games that are homebrew and just their own world and everything like that. So yeah, it's like no surprise that D&D made an MMORPG because they thought that it was a brand that people would like, and apparently it's still going. It's still kind of popular. So maybe they're right on some extent, but I think that in many ways they miss why people like D&D in a lot of ways. And that's why, like, when they're making this movie that's supposed to be coming out next year, my thoughts are always like, I hope that they make like a D&D movie that's not just a shitty Forgotten Realms movie, and that it's like a discount Lord of the Rings that nobody cares about, and instead they do something that's like about the real reason why people like D&D, which is like it's a fun thing to do with your friends where you make up your own stories. And like, I'd love if it had some sort of plot like the Lego movie, where like the Lego movie was sort of like a story within a story. I don't know. What do you think of that Scott from NerdSync fellow? Scott is a very good boy and makes very good content. And NerdSync is great and is always getting better with each video. I'm getting very excited by NerdSync content. Do you like Cenk Uygur's nephew? You mean Hassan Piker? Yeah, he's okay. He's a little broy, but like, he's fine. Am I related to Boogie 2988? I am not. No. You'd be surprised to learn that not all fat people are related. I don't know why I'm so sneezy today. I don't know a whole lot about David Pakman, I'll be honest, so I don't really want to say anything. Do you think that one kid, the one who shot BLM people, will get off? I mean, he already did. Kyle Rittenhouse, I feel like might face some justice, but something makes me think that it's going to be nothing close to what he deserves. I feel like he's gonna get in shit more for the fact that he dodged bail. What's it called? They paid bail and he ran away than anything else. What's my favorite food to eat? I like cured things. Like, I'm a really big fan of like pepperettes and stuff, even if it's just like turkey or Landjaeger or stuff like that. I've had like minor interest in making it myself. I think it's it's good stuff. And a lot of the stuff that you buy from the store has nitrates in it, which is bad for you. It can give you colon cancer. So I would love it if I could make it myself without, having that shit in it. Do you think Uyghur denialists are about to do do we really know how many died once the numbers start coming out? The Uyghur denialist thing, I'm starting to feel a little less comfortable about being like super harsh on it. I'm of the like position now that there needs to be an investigation. Like, there is smoke, but fire is like, there's definitely fucked up shit happening there. I'm not gonna lie. There's definitely like racial prejudice and discrimination and typing and cultural chauvinism and stuff going on. But I think that there needs to be like, there's enough circumstantial stuff to think that there's a lot of motivation, especially on behalf of the United States, to essentially balkanize China. It's like a long-term project of the State Department that they might be playing things up, but I think that it would be still really irresponsible for us to not like, I don't want to be the person who sat on the sidelines while the Rwandan genocide was happening like in the 90s. And so I really think that that there should be UN inspectors sent in there to find out what's going on, because it's definitely not good, and definitely something should be done about it. But I don't know what. My crush is right wing. Should I forget about her or date her and see if I can change her mind? I don't know. That seems like a recipe for heartache. If I don't know, like that'd be my take. Like, having right wing opinions says a bit about who you are anyway, and so I don't know. For me, like, having right wing opinions would make me not exactly have a crush on them anymore, but that's just me. Kind of random, but your video on Emma Goldman made me think about that her life would be an amazing movie. I agree. She's the ultimate anarchist girl boss. Oh man, that's not gonna be fun. The process of cattle farming, dairy products, annoying right-wingers not understanding George Orwell. Came in on Baba Yaga. I don't know what you were talking about, but I do know that Pathfinder has a campaign that features her as the good guy and her house is the MacGuffin. That is pretty fun. Yo, pause up. DDO still exists? Does DDO not exist anymore? I thought it still existed. No, it looks like I just clicked on it. DDO.com is still up. It looks like there is still Dungeons and Dragons Online still going, so. I have very rarely played an official D&D adventure. I've almost exclusively played homebrew games. Yeah. I mean, Scott, you run a podcast called you're part of a podcast called Late to the Game, where they took the D&D rules and did all sorts of like cool stuff to it. Didn't they already make a movie? Yes, it had Jeremy Irons. It was terrible. What makes you think that Wizards of the Coast thinks that? It's just because every time they talk, like, they always are... I feel like if the people at Wizards of the Coast appreciated what people liked in D&D, they'd be making a lot more books that are about character options and monsters and settings, and they'd be releasing a lot fewer adventures, and they would be signposting on making a bigger deal about their, like, more player focused, like more DM focused and world building content rather than like just the out of the box adventures that I imagine sell don't sell as well as the other things. And every time that they make a video game or they make like a kind of spin-off license, it's based on their adventures and the Forgotten Realms and stuff like that. Instead of like, embracing kind of more like if there was a D&D video game that was like a higher tier version of Knights of Pen and Paper, for example, that's like an example of like a D&D game that gets why people like D&D, but it's a different thing. Wasn't there already a D&D movie that was about the tabletop experience? I don't know. Okay, so some think tank came out with that economic analysis that shows the government just offers free jobs to pay $15 an hour. Now worse to be a net neutral for the economy. The hosts of the new Liberal Law podcast have said, latched on to that policy to support. Should I even bother trying to get them to realize how left-wing idea that actually is? They seem to view it as a cool technocratic way to get around or to get to $15 an hour. I mean, I don't see that as like that's trying to get to $15 an hour using the liberal incentives option, which I still think is bullshit. Like it's just like you can't just raise the minimum wage. You have to find like another way that isn't going to work, and it seems to be a way to get around doing the actual thing you want to do. Do you have any favorite sources for Caribbean history? I'm not much of a Caribbean history expert. You might want to talk to St. Andrew about that one. I just know that Pac-Man defended the Bolivia coup. Gross. This play I saw a few years about a girl going through her dead younger sister's diary and learning about her through D&D games that she meets her friends. Play a lot deeper than that. But it'd be cool if the D&D movie was something of a personal journey like that. Yeah. What's it called? Even the D&D episode of Community, if that was made into something like a movie, I would have loved it. Because, like, the idea of, like, D&D as being, like, silly and unique and about bringing people together and about, like, people becoming friends and stuff like that, I think you can make a great D&D thing out of that. But if it turns into like a self-serious Forgotten Realms epic Lord of the Rings type thing, I think that there'll be a great missed opportunity of what a D&D movie could be. They would not. They wouldn't let. Yeah, China would definitely not. Not cooperate with the kind of inspection that would be needed to figure out what's going on in Xinjiang. What do I think about Tower 7? Tower 7's one of those examples where conspiracy theorists latched onto it and made a big deal about it. And then when you look at the actual evidence, you'll notice that, like, a lot of the times the people who try to spread Tower 7 conspiracy theories use very select photos of Tower 7. and don't look at other photos of Tower 7 to show that the collapsing of the towers caused extensive structural damage and an intentional misrepresentation of different words used, like pulling, which means that they know the building's going to collapse, so there's no point in fighting a fire anymore. You need to get all the fire control off. You need to get all the firefighters out of there. So it's a lot of like misinterpretation, selective evidence in order to try and make a case that it's conspiracy theory when it's not a thing. Emma Goldman supporting character in the movie Reds. Yeah, I should probably watch Reds. I used a clip from Reds, I believe, in my video. What do I think about the abdication of Harry and Meghan? I don't care. Words cannot express how little I care about the royal family. All I care about is whatever like racist imperialist bullshit that has come out recently is making people hate the monarchy, which is good for me. I'm glad that Harry and Meghan abdicated. I wish now that all of the other ones would too. That is probably one of the first successful modern MMORPGs. Search on YouTube for the Reds clip where Emma Goldman argues with Jack Reed about Bolshevik authoritarianism. Yeah, I think I use that in my videos. Have you seen the movie Gamers? No, I haven't. Wait, is that movie with... what was that movie where it had the guy from Dexter and it was like a world where they were it was like esports, but it was with this technology where people could use controllers to control real people, like remote control real people with chips in their heads. And so it was like this dystopian thing where it was like esports shooter games, but it was being done with like prisoners and something like that. Is that Gamers? Because I feel like I maybe saw that movie, but it was terrible. Even if no one dies, cultural genocide is still genocide. Yes, I agree. And that shit needs to be dealt with. Do you have any thoughts on UBI/Georgism or any other less mainstream ideas for wealth redistribution? UBI, I'm complicated feelings about. I worry about what a world where workers they don't even have the ability to strike as a way to disrupt the economy anymore. I do worry about what a capitalism where the workers have absolutely zero power and are completely at the whim of the government. I do worry about what a world like that would be like. I think the fact they are keeping people in concentration camps is bad enough. Like, even when it's all over, they don't kill people. Yeah, I do think that is bad. Yes. If you wanted the government to do a job guarantee program, don't you want libs to support that even if they're doing it for a dumb reason? Sure, I guess. I'm down for a jobs guarantee program, but I don't pretend that it's going to be some sort of backdoor way of getting $15 an hour minimum wage. Make a D&D movie that's like the LARP film with Peter Dinklage? Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the kind of movie I'd like. Like, I would love it. Like, the model that I would want a D&D movie to look like, for me, feels very much like the Lego movie. I feel like the Lego movie was, or even like, yeah, not Lego Batman, but like the Lego movie where It's sort of about the sort of like why people like D&D instead of just like the setting of D&D, and that it has like an aspect of like the it has aspects of people like the Lego Movie had that whole plot that people often forget about with like Will Ferrell and stuff, about how it's about like embracing creativity and about, you know, bringing generations and families together and stuff like that. And I would love for a D&D movie that has that sort of aspect to it, and that it bounces between a group of friends dealing with something in the real world while also sort of like dealing with those issues through their D&D game. I feel like that would be a very fun movie. Have I seen Mazes and Monsters? No, I haven't. The what's it called? The Tom Hanks movie where the anti Dungeons and Dragons Tom Hanks movie from the 80s. They are your royal family. I mean, I never agreed to this. I never made a pledge to the Queen. Fuck the Queen. I hate her. Hey, thank you for the super chat, by the way, Matt. Sorry, I'm like a little bit behind here. If Canada became a republic, would we sink into the ocean like so many Canadians seem to claim? Only how sarcastic there. I mean, I think that, yeah, I think if we became a republic, we'd end up having a, what's it called? We'd have a movie, if we had a republic, I feel like the president would be a very limited position. That's my guess. Be kind of like with Germany, or yeah, Germany I think is the example of a country where like the president isn't really all that important compared to the prime minister, or the chancellor, I guess as they call it. Came up and said, well, hello, Jonas. Thank you for coming by. What would Emma Goldman think about the world today? I think that she would... Something makes me think that Emma Goldman would be a little bit of a dirtbag left person. She would be... Not that she would be like kind of like part of the what's it called? The Nazbols or anything like that. Like she wouldn't be like a Peter Coffin or something. But I think that she would be a lot like... She was very much into like... you know, leftism should be fun and we shouldn't take ourselves too seriously type of thing. And I feel like she would have some issue with, you know, more self-serious types. It was literally called Gamer. Oh shit. Let's see. Sorry about missing the super chat. I was just slow. You got the money. How are you missing this? I'm sorry. It was me being bad. I was just behind on the chat. I was just reading late. I should probably have something open so I can pay more close attention. That was my bad, Matt. I was just behind. Peter Coffin's a Nazbol. Well, I mean, they're definitely shifting in that direction. They've sort of like now like gone on the super like I hate identity politics and what's it called? And like we should be like the left should have slurs in it now, and it's like, oh, okay, no thank you. Chat is a bit chaotic tonight. It's true. We're like halfway between like we're like having half of a conversation about D&D, half of a conversation about what's going on in Xinjiang province, and like just like a complete mishmash of different topics. I was surprised it didn't immediately pop up. Yeah, I have to figure out how to make my what's it called, to make OBS take super chats, because I still haven't been able to figure that part out. And then what's it called? Then so then for super chats, I have to like keep my eye on another screen, and I always forget about doing that. What's a history mystery that I've been pondering recently? Confidence speaks when haywire. Yeah, a little bit. What's a mystery that I'm into these days? I mean, I am always interested. The thing is that, like, everything that has to do with the United States is deep state shit, like about what's going on with the CIA and the FBI, is so under like, you know, protective stuff to make the United States look good and doesn't get into the real depths. And I would love to see what's like the full extent of like the shit the CIA and FBI have been up to over the last 100 years. Fun to think about how fucking long the dinosaurs were around. Yeah, like hundreds of times longer than we have. Recently learned that the term Inca is a Quechua term for lord or king, and that the last Andean civilization called themselves the Tawantinsuyu. Should we use that name instead? I mean, whatever name they decide to call themselves is the one that we should go with. So modern Quechua-speaking people should refer to them as whatever they would be referred to as. The whole grift of, yeah, Dave Rubin, like, the thing is that there's like more people who are getting into like weird Nazbol red-brown shit, like Glenn Greenwald, for example. What's my email again? My email is tristan@stepbackhistory.com. The Incas didn't speak Quechua, and the Incans was both the people and the ruler. Oh boy. What can be done about gang violence in the U.S.? Reduce income inequality and give people a pathway out of poverty that doesn't include criminal activity. You could imagine that ending the war on drugs and more evenly distributing resources would do quite a bit to make gang activity go down. Phoebe is losing her shit. She's kind of bored right now, so she's like just attacking anything that's on my desk. I wish I could show you this because it's like very funny. But she's like, I have like risers on my monitor, and she's like sticking her head underneath it because she found something that makes a jingling sound underneath there that she's trying to get out. Let me see if I can give you guys something. Oh, she pulled her head out the second I moved. Why do so many progressives try to be like the Queen, even pretend to like the Queen? Why do so many progressives try to pretend to like the Queen, even though they want to abolish the monarchy? She bullies and gaslights anyone in her family who steps out of line. She's not a nice person. I don't know. I don't know why people do that. Maybe they shouldn't. I don't know. Should cat cam? Is there Phoebe down here? Let's see if you guys can see her all right. Nope. She's got her head, so you see the riser there, and she's like sticking her head underneath, trying to get something. She's bored. This is her more active than she's been in a while. She kind of just lives. I have like a house over here that she basically lives in. Alrighty. Also, Tim Hortons coffee appearance. Yeah. I had a coffee this morning. Sorry. But now everybody knows that I had a Tim Hortons coffee. Did you get a sour cream donut? No. Tim Hortons bad. Yeah, they I just needed Brazilian food, you know? I was in the mood for Brazilian takeout for this morning. What's your take on the issue of drug legalization? Yeah, do it. I don't see any positive outcomes that come from making drugs illegal. There's this like misguided ancient notion that that if you make drugs illegal, that means people will stop using them, which has been patently shown to not be the case, and instead is only really used to criminalize poor people and people of color. So I'm not a fan. Phoebe, stop. Just trying to chew on the cable that for the webcam. And so, yeah, I would definitely like addiction is definitely a health problem, that's for sure. Unregulated, dangerous drugs in dangerous and like not having any knowledge about what is in them is also a problem. But I don't see why the government needs to step in and criminalize or dictate people's drug use habits any more than the drugs that they already don't. And as we're learning with stuff like LSD, that we might have set back psychopharmaceutical research by decades by making these substances locked off. Okay. Would you also legalize prostitution? Yeah. Sex work is work and should be treated as such. A legalized and regulated sex work industry would definitely avoid a lot of abuse and brutality and human trafficking. Why does Canada consistently punch above its weight in film and TV for such a small population, high volume of top tier media? It's because Canada invests pretty heavily in media. Like we actually have, the government actually puts a surprising amount of money into developing Canadian artists, and we have like laws in place so that Canadian artists have to get a decent chunk of our mass media platforms, which means that there's like a lot of Canadian musicians that just get a lot of airtime on the radio in Canada because they're Canadian, and we're very culturally close to the United States, so that means that we don't have notably thick accents. We have a similar cultural connection, and so our content translates to the United States very easily. The other day, people in the Discord were saying that the Queen should have stopped Boris from closing Parliament in 2019, but I was like, we shouldn't set the precedent the Queen ever just do whatever the Prime Minister wants. What's your take on that? I mean, I don't like either of them, so in many ways, like, don't do this thing that would make things better because that would be against the rules is not a thing that I would is not a thing that I generally support. I'm for doing whatever about saying fuck the rules about things that are in place and just doing the things that need to get done to make our world better for ourselves, because everything is what's it called? Our rules are currently in place to keep everybody down. So if you could use the Queen to stop Parliament or whatever, if that was really necessary, then sure, whatever. I don't care. I don't need to like the Queen to do that or to be for that. I can't wait to see what King Charles will be like. King Charles will be such a disaster. Kind of like a previous King Charles. I do feel like after Queen Elizabeth that the monarchy might be in jeopardy. There might not be a monarch after her. Psilocybin has been like the only chemical to help with mental stuff for me. Yeah, the thing is like what's it called? Hallucinogens seem to have a lot of psychological purposes or seem to have a lot of promise for helping with things like depression and such. And we haven't been able to do research just because of, puritanical Protestant laws that are trying to dictate what people are and are not allowed to do with their own person when they're not hurting other people. And I would like that to stop. Do you legalize polygamy? Yeah, that's a difficult one, but with the rise of more and more polyamorous people, it is an issue that's going to be coming up, and I honestly haven't put a lot of thought into it, so I don't really want to, have a hot take on it right now. I'm not polyamorous, and I don't really have a lot of, attachment to religious sects that have plural marriage as part of their tenets, so I don't really have a whole lot to say about it. I'm a free market libertarian. We need to get rid of a lot of these laws. Although, if you're a free market libertarian, we know that your main things are against age of consent laws. As we all know, the whole thing is that free market libertarians are just a long-winded way of wanting to bring back slavery and having sex with children. So, oh boy, I love all. The best part about political compass memes is that libertarians are always the butt of the joke, and I think that's great. Because it really is a completely devoid of content ideology. That's just like they have some weird issue, or they think the wrong side won World War II, and then it's like, hello. The coworker said I was mean because I hope the monarchy gets abolished before Prince George gets to be king. Oh no! He would just have to end up being one of the richest children ever instead of getting to be a king. Blech. How do we combat the sort of capitalization of marijuana as it's become legal? That is a good question. Legalizing drugs does end up with concentrating wealth at the top again. I mean, it's the whole fighting capitalism thing. You're trading off profits moving out of communities for the literal imprisonment and violent suppression of people. Decriminalization would be the half measure that makes it so that while it's not a crime to take drugs, you can't legally sell it, and it sort of creates a gray area. That would probably be the best option, but that's usually not a very popular option because you can't make money off that. Or unionize. Political compass memes is a Nazi safe. I didn't know it. I wasn't talking about the subreddit. I'm just talking about the joke format in general. The butt of the joke is libertarians because libertarians suck. Do you know that the modern day free market libertarian ideology was grew in America because of explicitly opposition to the civil rights movement? Isn't that fun? In the age of polyamorous relationships, you'd need some good reconfigurations as to how people marry. Yeah, for real. In many ways, I think that that's going to require a larger conversation. Hello. This is very sweet. Phoebe is being very cute right now. She just wants love. You can't hear her, but she's purring right now. And Phoebe is adorable because she purrs very quietly. She's a very quiet cat in general. She very rarely ever meows. Would you ever debate? I would participate in a debate if it had a topic and a moderator. I would not just be like, I'm never going to participate in like Twitch, just two people put together to just yell at each other. Like, I feel like that's pointless. Do you think the Allies were good, or were they just better than the Axis? I mean, you don't have to work hard to be better than the Axis. And given that they were fighting like actual fascism and genocide, worthy of critical support, I guess, during World War II. So I heard Prince Charles isn't going to be coronated as King Charles III. Yeah, if I remember correctly, Elizabeth going by her actual name when she was coronated was actually a bit of a rarity, and so he'd probably change his name. If I remember correctly, whenever somebody becomes the monarch of England, they not only change their name, but they typically also change their birthday, which is weird. Poly people have been having a larger conversation for a while now. Well, I'd be curious to know what they think. I'll forever remark that libertarian is a fitting term for them, because of the original philosophical libertarianism is the idea that brains don't obey the laws of physics, and economic libertarianism is the idea that economics don't obey the laws of physics, and also a lot of screaming about the age of consent for some reason. Yeah. Came for the anarchy, stay for the Phoebe. That's essentially my entire channel shtick, so... Except Phoebe keeps trying to bite my cables. Don't do that. The Libertarian Party is highly funded by the Koch brothers. Yeah, or it was. Now there's only one of them. That's why Kansas under Brownback was under their post-trial libertarian conservatism and destroyed the economy. Yeah. Why do they change their name and birthday? I don't know. Ceremony reasons, I guess. Hey! Oits! Thank you for the subscription. Thank you for the Prime subscription. Much appreciated. Putting food in this kitty's belly. Wow. You're being such a good kitty today, except for the fact that you're trying to chew on all the cables. It'd be pretty funny if you just saw Phoebe, like, walk over there, and then you just saw the webcam feed go out as Phoebe chewed the cable. It'd be terrible because it's like a $90 webcam, but it'd be funny in the moment. Poly folks are far from monolithic. I tend to be disinterested in marriage, so it's basically already legal for me. Yeah, they're like... Yeah, I don't know. The thing is that marriage in our society has a lot of legal benefits, and while like non-marriage and in like long-term relationships is fine when you're young, when you have to deal with stuff like buying houses together and dealing with insurance and stuff like that, it gets a little bit more complicated. And that's where having the discussion about what to do about marriage would be interesting to see. Tell us another story about old-timey times and Emma Goldman for the Happy Women's Day. Unka Tristan. Ooh, what's a good Emma Goldman story? I like the fact that she fucking told off fucking Comrade Vladimir Ivanovich Lenin for not believing in free speech. Record is that they got into... she met Lenin, and they got in an argument. And not long afterwards, she left the Soviet Union to live in Germany, which, I mean, that sounds like it was. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall during that conversation. When the Soviets and the British Empire are the good guys, you know the bad guys must be really bad. Yeah. Did you know Friedrich Hayek thought the voting age should be 45? It's weird how libertarians seem to not want all that much, political participation, huh? Apparently, in Cory Bush's recent additions to the bill, there was a push to make an amendment that would have lowered the vote. We're not talking about it very much because it's not like I don't know what stage it's in, but there's a huge Voting Rights Act going through Congress right now, and one of the amendments that Cory Bush pushed that unfortunately got voted down was going to lower the voting age in America to 16. And I was like, oh, that would have been interesting. I'd be very interested to see what would happen to the political, the John Lewis Act. I think that's what it's called. Yeah. I'd be very interested to find out what would happen to American elections if 16 and 17-year-olds could vote. You would think that younger people, because they have more time to live, should have more of a stake or more of a say in what's going to happen than people who, they're closer to dying. Because, the elections that happen now affect 16 and 17-year-olds' lives a lot more profoundly than somebody who's 70 or 80 years old. Apparently the key to a good left-leaning political stream is you need to have a cat. Yes, cats are good. Dogs are also acceptable. We got a lot of mileage over having a discussion about what my dog's going to be like whenever I get it. Too much democracy would interfere with the market. That is the most libertarian thing I've ever heard. Too much democracy would get in the way of the market. How international is my audience? It's very international for me. Only 9% of my audience is Canadian. But something like 40% of my audience is American, so probably not the best. This stream is during the day. It goes from noon till 2, which means that this stream ends up being... This is my, European-friendly stream. So there's a lot more Europeans on this one. I have a stream at 7 to 9, and that has more of the Americans who come out. Hello from the Bahamas. Hello. Hello. I'm very, very happy. Congratulations to the Bahamas for getting rid of the monarchy. Very jealous of you guys. You have to be a male property owner over 45, and that election should be every 15 years. Oof. Hi from Scotland. Hello. Hello from Scotland. There's a handful of Scots in the chat. All right. He's good stuff. I will not do any Scottish accents as they're all terrible. But I will say, fucking rules. I wish I could try haggis, but it's not legal here, so I can't. Although there was a thing that was saying they might be changing the law soon so that haggis would actually be legal. Get that iron brew. Oh, I do love iron brew. I haven't had iron brew in a very long time, but I do like it. By the way, you were reconsidering the Tuesday stream as a guest stream. Will Step Back tonight be shifted to another day? You can make it more European-friendly time-wise. I don't think so. I have this stream and I have the Friday stream as my European-friendly time. If anything, Step Back tonight's my only like North America-friendly time. When did haggis become illegal in Canada? When it was illegal in the US, it was smuggled in from Canada. I don't exactly remember. I just know that we can't eat lungs for some reason. What's iron brew? Iron brew is it's like a soda that's made in Scotland. Do we sell haggis here? For some reason I thought haggis was illegal in Canada. Let me just check. Under Canadian law, reportedly... Okay, here we go. Your haggis is fake. So why the national dish of Scotland... Why the national dish of Robbie Burns Day is illegal in Canada. So in 1971, we passed a law that made it so that you couldn't... Let me find anything here. So in 1971, we passed a law that made it so that lungs can't be served as food. Looking at the National Post here. Apparently there's no reason behind the 1971 lung bans. Because in the UK they eat offal all the time and it's not an issue. But here it's illegal. No mention of offal exists in the Canadian parliamentary record at the time of the ban. In the United States, the FDA reportedly banned the organs without so much as assessing their safety. Given the tiny U.S. market for edible lungs at the time, it was likely deemed to be not worth the trouble. In a 2014 article in Scotland's Daily Record claimed that the bans were motivated by trumped-up fears over scrapie, a degenerative illness that is a close cousin of mad cow disease. There's no scientific evidence to indicate that scrapie poses a risk to human health or... indeed evidence that it's ever passed into our food chain, claimed the Daily Record. As a result, purists maintain that the superstition alone is causing North Americans to be sold fraudulent lung-free haggis. And then a Telegraph editorial held that haggis without lungs is no haggis at all. In late 2015, a Conservative politician complained to the UK House of Parliament that their haggis producers are being forced to sell their product to the United States with, quote, bits missing. Naturally, North America's generation-long offal ban has spawned a vibrant black market for haggis. Oh, man. Okay, we're learning stuff. Retailers in Scottish tourist areas reportedly regularly encounter Americans who vow to smuggle their haggis purchases back home. In 2016, the food blog Food52 spoke to Lou, a New York haggis smuggler, who hinted at collusion with U.S. Homeland Security. Holy shit, this goes deep. As a guard handed Lou her passport, he said, "Enjoy your sausage." She reported, "I realized later that he must have been Irish or Scots-American." The typical culinary criticism of lungless haggis is that it's too heavy and sausage-like and lacks a nutty flavor. So there you go. There's Free the Haggis, a pressure movement in the United States to drop their lung ban. Are we all learning very good things about haggis and lung meat? Why do you think democracy and the free market economics aren't in conflict? Why do people think democracy and free market economics aren't in conflict? Pure ideology. The entire idea of liberalism is that markets and democracy are not in conflict because they're not in conflict because democracy solidly comes second to markets. But yeah, smuggling is very cool. Who does nobody bring up that kind of thing when right-wing politicians gush over these asshats? Like, why did no one ever say to Thatcher, hey, this guy you like thinks democracy shouldn't be a thing? Because everybody's in on the grift. Like a lot of liberals, I don't think that they're in contention with each other. Kind of becoming a socialist is realizing that democracy and the markets are not like they're incompatible. Anyways, it is 2:00, so we have to stop this wonderful talk about haggis, and I have to move along with my day. I got work to do, so I'm going to have us let's raid Vivian. Why not? So everybody, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and I'll be back tomorrow night. I'm gonna see if I can find a guest, but I don't know if I can on such short notice. But yeah, I'll see you guys soon.